Hi, I'm Dana Lynn. I'm a registered dietitian who focuses on behavior change, and today we're going to be talking about emotional eating. Why do we do it? How do we stop doing it? Let's dive in. So, first of all, emotional eating is using food as a way to change our emotional state. Simply put, why do we do this? Well, we live in a society where having emotions are very unwelcome. This is something we see as early as infancy. We're constantly doing whatever we can do to make the baby stop crying, right? So that's something that we are teaching right from the beginning. Oh, hey, your emotions are not welcome here. They're not safe here. We do this throughout childhood. Anytime there's some sort of emotional upset, anything we can do to shut it down, right? And this is, I'm not blaming parents or anything. We all do this. It's just the way we are in society. Um, but the problem with this is that because we're so quick to shut it down, we actually never work on teaching our children, or we never learned ourselves, how to move through those emotions, what to do with them in a healthy way, right? So here we are now as adults. Emotions aren't safe, they're not welcome. So, what we do is whenever we're feeling them, we do something to avoid them, to run away from them, to shove them down, anything to not feel them, right? So, this is where food comes in, and really any addiction comes in. But food, when we eat food, especially comfort foods, these are things like sweets and chips and whatever helps you feel comfortable. We eat those foods because it's literally releasing a feel good hormone in our body. And this helps us to feel calmer, it helps us to feel happy. And for that moment, we don't have to feel those uncomfortable emotions. So we do this, but then of course, we know that food doesn't actually get rid of the emotion, it just squelches it for a little bit, then it comes back. Now we have new emotions because we just ate something we didn't want to, and so on it goes, right? So we all do this, some to more extent than others. I will say for those of us who are more highly sensitive, it tends to be a little bit more of an issue. So if you find yourself doing a lot of emotional eating, you might just be a more sensitive person, and we live in a society where that's, kind of frowned upon, and it's unfortunate. As a highly sensitive person myself, it's something we really have to kind of learn to accept and understand it's actually not a bad thing. So, how do you recognize if you're doing emotional eating versus physical hunger, right? So, what's the difference between those two hungers? Well, we can tell if it's a physical hunger because we can look back at when's the last time we ate. Did we eat pretty recently? Was it a nice balanced meal where it had protein and healthy fats and high fiber and, really filling and satisfying? If we just ate something like that and then we're hungry again, that's a good cue that it's an emotional hunger. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be sadness that drives these emotions, right? It can be overwhelm, it can be stress, it can be happiness, even, right? Because even when we're kids and any celebratory thing, we go to those celebratory foods, which are same as comfort foods. So really important to start to recognize when are you emotional eating versus physically hungry, or when are you emotionally hungry. um, Figuring out and identifying is the first step to that. Okay, so then what do you do once you've identified I am emotionally eating right now? um, that's where then, in a perfect world, where we ideally want to get to is to a point where when you're feeling that emotion, we can learn to actually sit in that emotion, let it move through us. Kind of, these are the things we were never taught. And so for a lot of you, this might sound super weird and foreign, but it's a really important thing to start to consider is we shouldn't always be hiding from emotions. We actually need to feel them. They're trying to be felt so that they can be released. So in a perfect world, that's where we get to a point where we are able to sit through them and feel those emotions. However, if you're new to this, or if those emotions are just way too big because it's like stemming from childhood traumas, like there's so much here, right? So if that's the case, then what we want to do is first, we want to have some sort of, I don't want to say safer food that we can use when we're being triggered like that or having that emotional hunger, but just something that maybe, for example, whenever you're having that emotional hunger, you're turning to cookies or cakes or chips or things that you don't want to keep eating as often as you are. then maybe having something that is still going to give you that comfort, but that maybe isn't going to be as harmful to your health if you're doing it all the time. So maybe you're going to have a bar of dark chocolate in the freezer for those moments. And that might just take the edge off enough so that then you can start the next step, which is to start to identify what just triggered you. What just happened? Where is this emotion coming from? Why is it there? So that, if it is a negative emotion, like say it's just overwhelm, or there's something you don't want to do, you're procrastinating, or you got in a fight with someone, whatever it is, you want to identify what is causing it so that you can start to deal with that thing. Maybe it's something where you realize, okay, I need to reduce the things on my plate, not food plate, but the things that you have to do on your to-do list. Or maybe it's that, you need to turn off the news, which we all could use some of that. Anything that's like bringing up these emotions, identify them so that you can start to remove them, you can start to deal with them. So that's one thing, is to have that kind of safer food. And then the next step would be to start to find other things that help you feel good that aren't food related, right? So when we're feeling that uncomfortable feeling of whatever the emotion is, you want to find something else that's going to bring you joy, to kind of take that edge off. So maybe that's just walk outside and put your feet in the grass. Maybe you're going to go for a walk. Maybe you're going to call a friend. Maybe you're going to journal. Maybe you're going to do some art. Whatever that is for you, maybe it's gardening. Whatever helps you to feel more calm that's not food related. Obviously, we don't want to turn to other addictions too. So finding something that's actually benefiting your life in the long run, not just in the short term. So that's kind of the next thing you want to move to is, okay, what else is going to help me feel good in this moment that's not food related? And then eventually getting to the point where we just sit through those emotions and we learn to start to kind of cope with them. So as you go through this process of starting to identify when you're emotional eating, working through healthier ways to deal with those emotions, you're going to have days where you are actually able to do this, and it's going to feel really amazing. And you're going to have days where you are not able to do this and you turn to that comfort food, and all of it's okay. You are, working through some really hard things. So I think it's important to be as kind to yourself as possible, gentle with yourself, and instead of beating yourself up, because that helps nothing, when you do have those times where you do turn to, the cookies, the cake, whatever it is for you, to afterward, instead of beating yourself, just be like, okay, so this time was a little bit harder, and really dig into what is going on behind this. How can you maybe set yourself up for success next time? You're going to fail a million times and you're going to succeed sometimes. And the more you practice this, the failure to succeed, there's going to be a shift, right? You're going to succeed more times. The more you practice it, you're building new muscle. So be patient with yourself as you go through this. There is no perfection. Even like I've been doing this for so many years and I still emotional eat, like it happens. You just don't want it to be the default and the thing that's happening all the time, because then it's going to affect your health. So hopefully this is helpful for you, just to start thinking about, how do you deal with emotions? What does that look like for you as far as emotional eating? Starting to pay attention. I invite you to comment below with what are the emotions that you, are finding coming up for you that drive the emotional eating. What does emotional eating look like for you? Please go ahead and comment below if you feel comfortable. I know this can be kind of a sensitive subject for you, but I'm hopefully creating a safe space for everyone. And if you like this video, I really appreciate it if you like it and share it with others. And if you want more of my content, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell button. The bell button's gonna send you notifications every time I put out a new video. So be extra kind to yourselves through this process, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.